Greetings and welcome. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we would like to acknowledge a lady who placed a comment in our channel comment area, a YouTuber named Karen Reeves. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We never knew that this supposed ancient manuscript existed. That has given us some reasons to investigate it. So what we did was to look for it online through our personal research. Thank you again, Karen Reeves, for bringing that to our attention. The Kolbrin Bible is not a biblical book, but is one of the few manuscripts about the time preceding the flood. There are some differences between the biblical account and the Kolbrin Bible, but there are also many interesting converging points. So we found a supposed full or complete version of the Kolbrin online and downloaded it and decided to peruse it. It's got quite a lot of chapters here, as you can see on the left here. There's this introduction. The Kolbrin Bible 21st Century Master Edition contains faithful copies of all 11 books of the historical and prophetic anthology formerly known as the Kolbrin. The Kolbrin Bible is an ancient secular academic work. It offers alternate accounts of several stories from the Holy Bible and other wisdom texts. Previously named the Kolbrin, the work is now titled the Kolbrin Bible by the publisher. This is because the term Bible accurately defines the work and also has its root in a civilization that played a critical role in its dissemination. In the classic sense, the term Bible comes from the Greek biblia or biblios, meaning books, which stems from Bublos. Bublos was an ancient Phoenician port located in what is now the central coast of Lebanon. In their day, Phoenician traders operated the most advanced fleets of ocean-going vessels in all the world. Before their fall to the Roman Empire, their principal trade routes stretched throughout the Mediterranean area, out along the shores of Western Europe, and up as far as north as Britain. Of note to this body of work is that the Phoenicians imported papyrus from Egypt and sold it abroad along with ancient wisdom texts. In doing so, they distributed the earliest known variant of the Kolbrin Bible, called the Great Book, to their various ports of call. The Great Book was originally penned in hieratic by Egyptian academicians after the exodus of the Jews around 1500 BCE. Its original 21 volumes were later translated using the 22nd letter Phoenician alphabet, which later spawned the Greek, Roman and English alphabets of today. The only known copy of the Great Book to survive the millennia was the one exported to Britain by the Phoenicians in the 1st century BCE. Regrettably, much of it was destroyed when the Glastonbury Abbey was set ablaze in 1184 CE. The attack on the abbey was ordered by English King Henry II after he accused the abbey priests of being mystical heretics. So it wasn't taken to Britain by Joseph of Arimathea, according to this sentence, the uncle of Jesus the Christ. It was taken or exported to Britain by the Phoenicians in the 1st century BCE. And again, regrettably, much of it was destroyed when the Glastonbury Abbey was set ablaze in 1184 CE, and so forth. Fearing for their lives, the Celtic priests of the abbey fled into hiding. with what remained of the great book. There they transcribed the surviving Phoenician translations to bronze sheets and stored them in copper-clad wooden boxes. This effort became known as the Bronze Book. So it wasn't Galilean Aramaic, if that was spoken by Joseph of Arimathea, Jesus the Christ's uncle. Okay, is it much older phonetic or Phoenician language? It was written in that language. Again, there they translated the surviving Phoenician translations to bronze sheets and stored them in copper-clad wooden boxes. This effort became known as the Bronze Book. In the 18th century CE, the Bronze Book was merged with a Celtic wisdom text called the Cole Book to become the Kolbrin Bible. We just read online previously that it's a secular book. And again, it's not a Bible in a Bible sense. For more information, visit the website Kolbrin.com. Your own world book editions of the Kolbrin Bible, first published several print and electronic editions of the Kolbrin Bible, etc. Each edition is a faithful copy of the 20th century major edition and uses the Kolbrin citation system developed by Marshall Masters. In May 2006, Your Own World Books published second editions of the Kolbrin Bible, updated with over 1600 typographical corrections based on the Chicago Manual of Style. The verbiage remains exactly the same. As an index was also added to the print and Adobe eBooks editions. Here's some information on the Kolbrin Bible, 21st Century Master Edition. Egyptian text of the Bronze Book, the first 6 books of the Kolbrin Bible. Celtic text of the Cole Book, the last 5 books of the Kolbrin Bible. And more information here on it. Languages used before the Common Era. The Egyptian texts of the Bronze Book, the first 6 books of the Kolbrin Bible, were originally penned in the hieratic as the Great Book of Egyptian academicians following the exodus of the Jews around 1500 BCE. One of several copies of this work was translated into Phoenician, etc., and made its way to Britain, as formerly stated. Languages used during the Common Era. The Celtic text of the Cole Book, the last 5 books of the Kolbrin Bible, were originally penned in ancient Celtic. Work began on the earliest parts of the Cole Book in approximately 20 CE and finished in approximately 500 CE. Inspired by the scope of the Egyptian texts, the Celts wrote their own historical and philosophical anthology in a similar manner, but in their own language. Viewed as a religious work by many, the Celtic texts offer a timeless insight into Druid folklore, mysticism and philosophy. According to some historians, the Cole Book was also inspired in part by a visit by Jesus Christ to Britain. At the time, Jesus was either in his late teens or middle 20s and travelled via a high-speed Phoenician trading ship to Britain with his great uncle Joseph of Arimathea, who undertook the journey to inspect a tin mine he owned. These historians further maintain that Jesus studied the Egyptian texts in Britain. This is because the Celtic text penned following his possible visit contained a never before published biography of Jesus. Given the detailed and highly revealing nature of this biography, the case can be made that the biographer personally met Jesus or interviewed someone who had. Additional corroboration comes from reliable historical accounts that indicate Joseph of Arimathea founded the Glastonbury Abbey in or about 36 CE, and that it eventually became the repository for these texts during the first millennium. So maybe he did, when he founded this, the Glastonbury Abbey, in or about 36 CE, took a copy of that bronze book there. Stored together in the Glastonbury Abbey under the watchful eyes of Celtic priests, the texts remained safe and were actively studied until the 12th century, when the abbey was attacked and set ablaze by minions of King Henry II. After the attack, the priests fled with what remained of these ancient works to a secret location in Scotland, where the Egyptian texts were transcribed to bronze sheets. At that time, the two books were still not joined, and the language of both remained as is: Phoenician, translated from Egyptian Hieratic, and Ancient Celtic, respectively. In the 18th century, the two books were combined and translated to Old English to form the first identifiable edition of the Kolbrin Bible. In the 20th century, the manuscripts were transferred to London and updated to Continental English. The latest edition of the Kolbrin Bible still uses the Continental English update, but has been edited according to modern rules of grammar and punctuation based on the Chicago Manual of Style. There'll be different reasons for that. Okay, unlike the Assyrian Aramaic with Katav Ashrid, it's never been upgraded, rewritten and translated into any other foreign language, according to Assyrian patriarchs and historical records that they have, because everybody knew that language, the Assyrian Aramaic or the Syriac, and all their church members knew that language, understood it as being native born to that region, so there was no need to translate it into any other language, i.e. English, African, Chinese or other. There's 7 major editions of the Kolbrin Bible. Born of great wisdom and love, the overall creation span of the Kolbrin Bible is greater than that of the Holy Bible. To facilitate a historical study of the work, the publisher has divided the creation span of the Kolbrin Bible into 7 master editions using the criteria of publication and publication era and country. First master edition, some information on it there. Second master, third, fourth, fifth, sixth master edition, publication era, country 20th century CE, England, New Zealand and America. In the years following World War I, the 5th major edition was relocated to London, England, where it was updated to Continental English. This master edition remained unpublished until 1992, when a senior member of the Hope Trust distributed several copies of the work. One distributed copy was printed in 1994 in New Zealand by a small religious order, and another in 2005 in America by Your Own World Books. The only differences between the New Zealand 1994 and American 2005 editions appear in the front matter, and the American edition added a new citation system and was published in both print and electronic variants. And there's the 7th edition. Kolbrin Citation Systems, Marshall Masters 2005 to 2006. All Your Own World Books, abridged and unabridged editions of this work use the same Kolbrin citation system, etc., etc. There's lots more information there. Each book of the Kolbrin Bible contains multiple chapters. And so forth. The Kolbrin Bible 21st Century Master Edition, Your Own World Books, 2nd edition, Creation 3:7. Quote, in this manner, the first earth was destroyed by calamity descending from out of the skies. The vaults of heaven had opened to bring forth monsters more fearsome than any that ever haunted the uneasy dreams of men. In this manner the first earth was destroyed by calamity, descending from out of the skies. Creation 3:7. The Kolbrin Bible, 21st Century Master Edition, Creation 3:7, Your Own World Books, 21st edition, Silver City. Is that Nevada? Marshall's motto: destiny finds those who listen and fate finds the rest. So learn what you can learn, do what you can do, and never give up hope. Marshall Masters. Book of Creation, CRT or Creation 1:4. The name which is uttered cannot be that of this great being who, remaining nameless, is the beginning and the end, beyond time, beyond the reach of mortals, and we in our simplicity call it God. It's the table of chapters. Chapter 1, Creation, CRT 1:1. Mortal knowledge is circumscribed by mortal ignorance, and mortal comprehension is circumscribed by spiritual reality. It is unwise for mortal man to attempt the understanding of that which is beyond his conception, for there lies the road to disbelief and madness. Yet man is man, and ever fated to reach out beyond himself, striving to attain things which always just elude his grasp. So in his frustration he replaces the dimly seen incomprehensible with things which within his understanding. If these things but poorly reflect reality, then is not the reflection of reality, distorted though it may be, of greater value than no reflection at all? CRT 1:2. There are no true beginnings on earth, for here all is effect, the ultimate cause being elsewhere. For who among men can say which came first, the seed or the plant? Yet in truth it is neither, for something neither seed nor plant preceded both, and that thing was also preceded by something else. Always there are ancestors back to the beginning, and back beyond that there is only God. This then is how these things were told in the great book of the Sons of Fire. Okay, so they're saying there, for who among men can say which came first, the seed or the plant? That's the old what came first, the chicken or the egg argument. But in the case of God, he could have, well, it says in Genesis, in the Brita, in the Aramaic, that trees came to be or were planted in the garden after their kind, right? And these had seed on it, okay? And then they regenerated. Maybe God said, commanded to be fruitful, plants and vegetation multiplied, right? Because what they had in the kingdom, or what they had above, so forth, was upon the earth. Something like that, in those words. Hopefully that's not too confusing. So whatever was already in heaven, he planted, vegetation, bush, trees, whatever, and then they grew duplicates or plants according to their kind. That's what it says in Genesis. So it's pretty easy to understand. Doesn't seem like there's anything complicated there. Right, same as animals. Right, they have offspring, right, after their kind, after them, right, and so forth. So it's not hard to get your head around that one. CRT 1:3. Before the beginning there was only one consciousness, that of the eternal one whose nature cannot be expressed in words. It was one soul spirit, the self-generator, which cannot diminish, the unknown, unknowable, one brooding, solitary, profound, pregnant silence. CRT 1:4. The name which is uttered cannot be that of this great being who, remaining nameless, is the beginning and the end, beyond time, beyond the reach of mortals, and we in our simplicity call it God. CRT 1:5. He who preceded all existed alone in this strange abode of uncreated light, which remains ever extinguishable, and no understandable eye can ever behold it. The pulsating drafts of the eternal light in his keeping were not yet loosed. He knew himself alone. He was uncontrasted, unable to manifest in nothingness, for all with his being was unexpressed potential. Sounds very gobbledygook, very much like some sort of Gnostic text. Yeah, it sounds very gobbledygook. Okay, and it carries on about creation. It's quite extensive. There's the books here, possibly. So, what is this book again? We'll go back, have a look. Book of Creation, which is up here. Okay, and you get the book of Gleanings. Gleanings 1:5. Men struggle daily with the beast and rest with their living from the soil, their day being encompassed with strife and toil. So women bring forth children with suffering, and because they are all frail, their husbands rule over them. Man is conceived in the womb of woman, and she brings him forth to life. Therefore, when God raised man up from among the beasts, choosing him as his heir, and endowing him with an immortal spirit, he placed a veil over the portals of life. This, that woman should not forget she is unlike all other living creatures, and the trustee of a divine mission. For a woman not only gives life to a mortal being, she also bears a spark of divinity to earth, and there can be no greater responsibility. Hence the name Mother Earth, I guess. There's a table of chapters. Book of Scrolls. SCL 18, or Scroll 18. These are the words to be spoken to those who peer from beyond the dark portal. His arm was ever ready to help those who did good for others, and he lent his power to those who ordered what was good. He stood for those who could no longer stand and command, did for those who could no longer command. He carried the weary and succoured the helpless. He never oppressed the weak, nor did he permit injustices to go unpunished and unrectified. Tables of chapters. Book of the Sons of Fire. 1:6. In days gone by you have had leaders to guide you, but before them were even greater leaders whom you have not known, and so forth. Book of Manuscripts. 3:1. Men forget the days of the destroyer, only the wise know where it went, and that it will return in its appointed hour. Book of Morals. Behold the teachings concerning life and the testimonies, which are a true guide through the portals at the great halls of eternity. Book of Origins. Life is a song, sometimes a song of sadness, sometimes a song of joy. Now a dirge, then a hymn echoes through the chambers of creation. Often a gay carol or lilting love song gladdens the ear of the ear. And there's plenty more books. It's quite extensive. Okay, we're not going to read every book. Okay, you can download it for free from online. You can leave a link to it. Yeah, I think this one might be Lucifer. Not really sure. Go back up. Something about Lucifer, probably. Let's go right back up here. Oh yeah, Book of Lucius. Lucius 1:6. Nothing except the Supreme Spirit can have a real self-contained and independent existence. This does not mean that nothing else is real, and by, quote, illusion, unquote, is meant deception by the senses, which interpret falsely. Man is deluded by his senses, and so cannot distinguish the real from the unreal. I guess this one here would be Wisdom. Book of Wisdom.